Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense.
No, none taken.
That is right, none taken. This is the Movie Moron podcast, and I am the Movie Moron. Thank you guys so much for joining us. With us, as always, is our practical co-host is not here, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But our all-time guest is here.
Yeah.
Tristan.
Oh, who is the babe?
The babe is my wife.
My wife.
Yeah. And then I'm your host, Easton Moore.
I have always liked Cowabunga.
I have always liked Cowabunga since I was born. And then we have a guest, first time guest.
Yes. To my knowledge, at least.
To all of our knowledge.
Yeah, if I've been on the podcast before, this is an absolutely terrifying experience. I don't remember.
Yeah, we have not drugged him before. This is a first time guest. And for some reason, my thing completely reset. So I don't have a soundbite. So I'm just going at random.
You were fired.
Oh, sorry. You're fired. By Casey himself.
All right. Well, it's been a great time on the podcast. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on MySpace.
It is really funny because Casey is the person I had for you when I did the soundbite, but it was not that. It just got reset. I don't know what it was. But yeah, we have a guest. And before we do our normal guest,
His name is Trent.
Yeah.
His name is Trent.
My name is just Trent. Trent.
It's just Trent.
Hello.
So before we do our normal guest thing, which we're going to ask him what his favorite movies are and his least favorite movies, so you guys have a gauge, I do want to address the elephant in the room where I said that this is going to be Trevor's last podcast.
Yeah.
He's not in because he's currently moving. He's been moving for quite some time. And we also took a road trip to go watch Oppenheimer and 70mm down in Dallas, Texas, which was quite a trip. And I think it kind of took away some time. Yeah. So he wasn't able to watch TMNT, which he was excited for. So I just want to take a moment to say a formal goodbye to Trevor. He's not going to be gone forever. He'll come on every once in a while as a Zoom guest, but he's no longer going to be he can't go every week because he's going to be doing his doctorates in percussion.
Performance.
So he's going to be busy is what I'm saying. So he's going to be in Illinois and we're in Kansas. So it's going to be a hard time for him to be able to be on. So we're going to have a new co-host come on, which you guys will meet him pretty soon after we get back from vacation. So we're not going to have an episode next week, but the week after you guys will meet our new co-host. Before we do Trent's favorite movies and before we talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, I do want to talk about 70mm Oppenheimer.
I knew you wanted to.
I know. I assumed Trevor was going to be on and we were going to talk about it together.
So sad.
I know. But I'm just going to talk about it for like 2 seconds. So before we watched the film, a manager came out and talked about what it meant to have a 70mm like film. He said that even though they have like a 70mm IMAX theater in Dallas, Texas, this is the first time they've used that projector since Dunkirk. Because
how long ago was that?
2017, 2018.
Okay.
It was that another Nolan movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was the Nolan movie before Tenet.
Okay. I'm behind on the Nolan cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Please forgive me.
So, that was apparently the last time they had to pull out the 70mm IMAX film projector. Because I guess from what I put together, it seems like they have some 70mm digital films that come out. But these are actually what Nolan did for the Oppenheimer and for Dunkirk and a couple movies before. It's legitimate film. It's not a digital scent. They bring out a film, which this particular one, Oppenheimer, was 11 miles long. That weighed about 600 pounds.
It's insane.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. And he even brought out strips of film and talked about how
That's
it was
cool.
different for IMAX and such. And so I'll just talk about the experience. First, it was much different than I thought. The whole film was not in 70 millimeter film. It switched back and forth between a 70 millimeter film and a standard IMAX letterbox, which is just like what you would see in a standard IMAX is called letterbox. It's a ratio that's long, so it's longer than it is tall.
So it was very discernible when it was flipping between the two.
Yes. You would see a scene that was standard letterbox, and then it would cut, and it would be like full 70 millimeter ratio. Almost looks like a square. So you would see that square, then you would see it cut to the letterbox, which is more of a rectangle, and then you see a square. And like I would say about 25, maybe 30% was in full 70 millimeter square format, and the rest of it was in the standard letterbox, which is what you would see in normal theaters and in IMAX and whatnot. However, when those shots came that were the full screen, and I should say the screen itself was 5 stories tall.
What the heck?
So, like when you saw it, like it looked grand. Like it looked anything like bigger than anything I've ever seen before. And I've been in IMAX, I've been in Dolby, I've seen big screen, but when you see that full square shot, like it looked purposeful, and it brought so much more to the scene than that was my third time watching Oppenheimer. So like I knew the film beforehand, so like seeing the difference was immaculate. And
you didn't think like maybe the bomb won't blow up this time.
Yes. Yeah, and they definitely did make a point to make those scenes in the full aspect ratio, the full 70 millimeter. And yeah, it was an experience like no other. And it sounded like from what he was talking about before the film that this may be one of the last legitimate films in 70 millimeter. So because it's a dying art, because you have to film it that way, and you have to edit it that way. You have to edit it in film.
Oh, like physically edit it.
Yes. Whereas digital, I mean, you edit it on a computer, and then you can add CGI, and he just didn't do that, and so he was able to do it on film, and so
wow.
It was a expensive trip, but
was it worth it?
For the experience of being able to do it before it might possibly be out of the film industry, yes, 100%. I'm glad that I did it because I got to experience something on 70 millimeter before it was gone. And if, and he even said it before the film. He said, like, this is something that you're going to be able to tell your kids, your grandkids, that you were able to watch something on an ancient art. That's something completely different than anything they've ever seen before. And like being able to experience that was worth the money.
Yeah.
And the moments where those like full shots came in and like the pivotal parts of the film, which I don't know if you've seen Oppenheimer yet.
I did see it. I
Okay.
think last weekend I saw it at a point.
Yeah, you okay.
I know he opens the Heimers.
So there were certain scenes where it does hit and like it added so much more emotion to the scene of like just seeing so much more of that scene. And it also just the way that it was cut when you did see the full screen, it made it feel like those scenes were more important. And so it added more weight to that, which was very interesting. I wish the whole thing was in, like, I wish it was 100% because but it was still an amazing experience. So there's your 70 millimeter review of Oppenheimer, kind of.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're getting in TMNT Mutant Mayhem, which we saw on like way early access. We watched it Monday last week.
Like didn't it just wasn't supposed to come out last weekend?
It came out. No, yeah, it came out like technically Thursday, and we watched it Monday.
Oh, okay.
Like the
Yeah, that
Monday
is early
before.
access.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So usually their early accesses are Wednesday. And for some reason, they had an early access on Monday, and I'm like, I'm a huge TMNT fan. I grew up a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. I was like, screw it, let's do it. And yeah, so we've been sitting on this for a while. Trevor couldn't watch it, and
I saw it twice.
You saw it twice. Oh yeah, you watched it with Trent.
Not the other Trent. My brother Trent.
Yeah.
Other Trent. I'm the Trent that does not draw.
Just voice acts.
Just voice acts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Trent just watched it like literally an hour ago.
Yeah, about roughly.
Yeah.
So you could say it's fresh in my memory.
Yes. Yeah. So before we get into all of our spoiler-free review of this movie, we're going to do our normal guest questions. Trent, what are a few of your favorite movies and a few of your least favorite movies?
So I am an animated movie fan. I'd say it's my favorite genre, but animation is not a genre. It's it's this whole thing in film because it can be action, it can be drama, it can be whatever. But some of my favorite animated films, which I feel like are relevant to this review. Oh, hi, puppy. Would probably be Shrek 2 is one of my favorite of all time.
Okay.
It's a solid classic. I really enjoyed Into the Spider-Verse. I think was the first Spider-Verse movie.
It is, yes.
And I really like the second one as well, even though I won't count that for one of my own. I might like it more than the first, but that'll depend on how much I like the third, but that's a whole different conversation.
Hey, I'm with you. Into the Spider-Verse that's one of my peak films. Yeah.
And also one of my childhood favorites is Treasure Planet.
Yes!
Jason loves that movie.
It's so unique, and like yes, there are times where it stumbles and falls, and there's an alien that only speaks in farts, but it has just a very like nice dynamic relationship between the the protagonist and the antagonist, who's like flops between actual villain and a complicated father figure, and there's all kinds of fun things, and it's so good.
Yeah, gray area. We love a good gray area in a movie.
Yeah, and I'd say for movies that I don't like, just the Studio of Illumination just immediately pops into my head.
Illumination.
Don't speak the name of the devil in the house of the Lord.
Well, you are sitting in Trevor's spot very well because he hates Minions.
They're so,
with a passion.
They're so mid. They're just there and they're funny. They go, haha, banana. And I'm like, you took the hype from Megamind when you first came onto the movie scene. Because I remember Despicable Me for the first one. It was good. I won't take away the grandeur from that. But since it was pushed way harder than Megamind at the same time, both of those were in theaters. So like, I can't forgive you than that. And now you just pushed out I don't know how many mid movies since then. So if I had to pick one of the ones I don't like from Illumination, would be either Sing movie, probably Sing 2.
Trent!
You just waged war in this household.
It's my older
Sing?
sister's favorite movie, so I take no favorites.
What?
And then for my other least favorite movies would probably be, there have just been some genuinely crappy like live action comedies that I've seen, like Jack and Jill, which is I think a notoriously hated movie.
Yeah, Easton won't let me watch it.
Because he's smart and he cares about you.
I do.
Yeah.
I swear. I do.
And then I would say Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates is a movie that I remember my sister and my parents were watching, and I watched an hour of it, and then just without talking to them, like I just left to go to the basement to just like play on the Xbox or something like that. I did not care about how that movie resolved. I think the wedding happened, probably. There's probably like a big dance part at the end because that's how all those movies end. But
Brilliant.
But yeah, that's my baseline for what I like and don't like.
So a lot of animation.
I like animation. It's almost like it ties into me wanting to do voice acting, which I do.
Wow.
Wow.
How do you feel about Secret Life of Pets?
It's a film where nothing happens.
So much happens.
They
They go to the Wiener Factory.
just go to a place and like, oh, we're dogs here, and they go to another place and like, oh, we're dogs here, and then they go to the sewers and like, hi, I'm Kevin Hart Rabbit.
That's true.
And then and that's the film. It just ends.
Whatever. It's fine.
It's a movie where events happen. Mm-hmm.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Oh,
For against.
wonderful
4.
film.
Let's
What the
go.
heck?
Let's go.
What the heck?
Let's go.
We love our realistic depiction of panic attacks in this household. Oh, it's what we all crave
That's fair.
as moviegoers.
So Atlantis.
Atlantis, not as much as
Treasure Planet. No, Treasure Planet is like
Treasure Planet's in a league of its own, but
Superior,
Atlantis
definitely.
is like that's a movie like if I'm like in there watching it, like yeah, I'm gonna be here for the next hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like I'll never not watch
no.
Atlantis.
Treasure Planet is like. That's one of my go-tos of like I don't know what
If
to
you-
watch tonight.
Yeah,
and like
if you
I
want
just
to like fall asleep watching something.
and like I want to feel happy. I'm like I want to.
You
like,
want a moment to be real?
Yeah.
Want to touch things I don't feel?
Mm-hmm.
Want to hold on and feel I belong?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know the
Exactly.
soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh no, I listen to the soundtrack all the time, and it's really funny because the guy that sings Jim's song that's his like only song until like last year. His only. I know this is weird, but I looked up his Spotify and he has Jim's song, which is like the most popular song of Treasure Planet, and then you have he didn't do anything for like. Until I think 2022, maybe 2021.
I mean, how could you top perfection?
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. But yeah, he randomly came out with another song, and like it's fine, but it's like it's not tied to anything. He just like came out with a single or whatever. It was very interesting. But we are not doing Treasure Planet, unfortunately.
Sadly.
We are doing something that I do think is at least very interesting and very, I think will be a lot of fun to talk about. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, movie directed and written by Seth Rogen and some others.
So this is perfect. Did you like animation?
Yeah, it shows that it was made by Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear us laughing there for sure.
That was pretty good.
And if you guys don't know anything about this movie, it's a reimagining of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story. It does start from the beginning. It is completely animated. It tries to do a new style of animation that you have not seen before. It takes a lot of inspiration from teenage art.
Like
And that's
doodling.
how it, yeah, and that's how it, they took their inspiration of how the
Doodle,
animation
graffiti.
starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The all 4 of the teenagers are teenage voice actors. And yeah, Seth Rogen, who calls himself the forever teenager, is the person that made this movie happen. I think is the
I'd
way
say
to
that's
put
also a warranted title for Seth Rogen of all people.
Mm-hmm.
I think I heard this from someone, so I can't say that I found it myself, but that seemed to be one of the things that he was using to promote the movie was produced by the forever teenager, Seth Rogen.
I think that was in the first teaser trailer I
Yeah.
ever saw for it. So yeah.
And yeah, it definitely fits.
Which, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So let's just go down the line. So without spoiling any of the plot for anybody that has not seen the movie yet, just give your general thoughts of what you thought of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Trent, you got to go first because we go right to left.
All right. I'll
Or right to
unexpectedly
left.
go first.
But don't spoil anything.
I won't spoil it. I'll say start off strong. There were some of the plot points I didn't quite like get where they kind of just like they just don't really explain things, so they just go like, oh no, this just happens, or no, we just know this. I'm like, okay, we don't want to shove an origin story full of just like too much lore, or else like we can't have like a fun movie. I'm like, I'll forgive it. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like some of like the lighting, the art style like worked really well in some areas. The characters just tend to look very grotesque, which I think is intentional, except for the turtles who did look like they were made of Play-Doh. I think that's the best way to describe them.
I've seen a lot of people talk about the animation style, and it seems like the turtles are the only thing that feel like they're not like the rest.
Yeah, they do stick out. And I feel like they just have like a more naturally saturated green.
Yes.
So it does just kind of make them stick out in just the color palette naturally, which I think was probably intentional thinking of. There's a lot of like high motion action scenes, which, I mean, it's a TMNT movie. You know that's going to happen. So that's
that's
not a spoiler. That's an
ninjas.
expectation.
Yeah, they're ninjas.
Yeah. And I did like the action scenes. Most of them are good, but in the third act, I'll say, again, without spoiling, I was talking to this beforehand, it keeps stuttering itself, where you think it'll go like one direction, like it'll just stop all of a sudden, and then it'll go a slightly different direction, and then stop again, and then restart, and it just keeps stutter stepping until it keeps going, you're like, oh, that was the climb. Okay, yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say that they almost feel like this movie has a fourth act.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I don't necessarily disagree. However, I do feel like it flows together better than what some people are trying to say. Like, I understand if somebody says, I feel like this movie has a fourth act where it just kind of like tacks on an extra bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I still feel like it flows. I feel like it's at least knitted together well enough that it feels like a progression that makes sense so that it feels like still a third act, but I can totally understand how somebody feels like
it's a logical flow that me, as just a dude who's sitting there as, you know, the armchair director that I am, go like, I know how I can make this flow better. I'm a person who never made a movie, but I know everything better than the director. But I think if I had to give an overall rating, I'd say
don't do ratings yet.
A number out of another number, because I forgot that we don't do ratings yet.
That's so funny.
That's okay. Hey, you didn't slip up. You just teased people. You edged them. Let's just put it that way.
So we're just gonna pass the magical talking stick down before I don't know, like stammer out something else silly.
No, it's all good. Was there anything else you wanted to say, general, on your first general thoughts on it?
I think they focused also a little too much on the extra characters, because I feel like they also pushed, like, look at all these, like, the celebrity voice actors of like, you have this dude who's Paul Rudd, and this dude who's Post Malone, and this dude who's Seth Rogen, who, like, of course he's gonna be there.
Yeah,
and like this is it turns into the side character show during some scenes. And like,
I could see that.
I thought this was Ninja Turtles.
Kind of like just a problem of when you hire these A-list actors that you feel like you have to use them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
I feel like it's funnier for the bit, almost like if you get like the A-list actors and you use them for like one or two lines, and that's the bit. I feel like, honestly, that's funnier to me, but I know the studios won't do that.
Yeah, well, a studio want to shovel off the money for a one-liner bit.
Yeah.
There have been movies that do it, but
like,
it's not common. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like Post Malone didn't talk a lot.
No, he just sang.
Well, yeah, but he didn't even sing that much. He just said,
He came in for 30 minutes on like a Thursday afternoon, like, hey, we got to get the lines recorded. Like, oh, don't worry, I got this.
Basically.
Yeah.
I feel like he was just chilling. He just was.
He's just chilling in life.
It sounded like they were all just having like a fun time, probably in the recording studio, which is like you want that environment when you're making something like this.
Yeah.
So like I can't bash that at all.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool because thank you. When we saw early release, they had like a clip before the movie that was like talking about it and stuff. So we found out a lot of cool stuff about it. And one of the things we learned was that what Easton said, the turtles are teenage actors.
All of the voice actors are legitimate, like,
for the turtles.
Teenagers.
Yeah.
They're under the age of 16 and they voice acted the entire thing.
And they're like so outgoing. Like I feel like seeing the real them and like talking together and like riffing off each other was cool to see, like, behind the scenes kind of.
Yeah, and in a lot of the scenes where they were all together doing their lines, a lot of that wasn't necessarily improv, but they just let them do their
like
thing.
Be teenagers.
Yeah, they let them riff off of each other and like make fun of each other and like do teenage stuff, and then like if stuff naturally happened, they just like they ran with it, and then like obviously, like any voice acting thing, you do it, you voice it first, and then they animate it later. And so,
well, there's a lot of. I really liked that there was a lot of like, what's that current? What am I trying to say?
Like
current,
like
vocabulary,
dated to right now type of dialogue.
Just trendy,
where they say words like riz
yeah,
or
yeah.
sus.
Okay, yeah. So it was cool because we learned that the boys, like when they were just talking to each other, whatever, one of them said riz. And then Seth Rogen heard them and was like, wait, say that in the movie. And they're like, we can't just say that. That's so weird. And then they did. I'm like,
he was
so
like,
cool.
what does that mean? Like, how is that relevant? That like they would try to explain it, and they would be like, well, like if that's what you guys would say, like try to like use it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they used
and they
like
would do that.
a bunch of like movie references.
Yeah, the Mark Ruffalo stuff was very heavily just like the them being themselves of like teenagers just being attached to like watching like what's popular. They watch Marvel.
Well, there were a ton. Oh.
Yeah, they watch Marvel movies. They play Fortnite. They watch YouTube videos. They
I just thought it was so cool. I'm like, yeah, they're like my little brother turtles. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. There were a couple things that I was kind of like, wait, what? Like, how did that happen? And I don't know the turtles that well.
I do.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I felt the same way that you did after the movie. Because you're like, one thing I didn't like is, and I was like, oh yeah, I felt that too. Not as strongly, obviously, because I didn't know them before that well. But am I making sense?
Nope.
Well, maybe the listeners will understand me. Leave a review and tell me if you understand.
Listen to the podcast if you understand exactly what you're saying about the turtles having personalities.
Yeah. It was super fun. It was really fun. It was kind of hard to watch it a second time, to be honest, after I like just watched it.
Oh.
But also we had really crappy seats because I thought my brother Trent wanted to be on the end, and then we got there and he didn't want to be on the end. So, but we were stuck on the end. So.
Typical Trent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Does that happen to you often?
It's just like, oh, we're such a difficult breed to get along with.
Yep. As you can tell.
I'm glad that's a nebulous problem. It makes me feel nice about myself.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I thought it was super fun. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Well, so I'll go here.
I said more that time.
Yeah, you did. I absolutely loved it. I am a ginormous Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan.
Ginormous.
I love the old live action movies, all of them, even though I understand that they're maybe the third one's not very good. I still love it.
They got Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince in there. that makes them high quality.
Okay. No, I absolutely love all of them. I love the dynamic that the four turtles give. I love the absolute ridiculousness of a rat in New York that somehow is mutated to become some sort of ninja
Jackie Chan
trainer. Yeah.
I wonder how Jackie Chan felt when he got the casting call like, hey, we want you to play a karate master type character. I'm like, oh yeah, I usually do that. Like, what do you think? And like an old rat. Like he realized like, okay, so I got to that point in my career. I am now
okay,
the
but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is like it's a beloved a beloved series though, so I feel like he has a little pride of like, okay, they picked me to be
Splinter.
I feel like it's a little bit that what is that interview where I think like Meryl Streep is talking about how when she turned 40 she got like 4 offers for witch roles that year, and she said I learned that year that's what Hollywood decides the age where you go from like, leading female to witch. And this is like, okay, what point do you go from like, you know, action
star,
kung fu movie star to
the old
rat.
sensei. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a huge fan. I've watched almost all of the TV show stuff when I was a kid. I even like the Michael Bay stuff, even though I know that they're absolutely terrible. I still like it because they're my dudes. I love these teenagers. And this is one of the best renditions that we've gotten of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The way that they're actually able to be teens is extremely refreshing. Not that I'm a teenager or anywhere close to it, but that I can feel that they are a teenager in the modern day, and I feel like that's extremely important.
I honestly, I felt like they were my kids. Like
Yeah, because you work with kids. Yeah.
A little bit different, but still.
Because I really want teenagers and kids of today to be able to relate to these teenagers because I don't know, and I feel like the whole entire story of them wanting to fit in with the people around them and that want is extremely relatable to all generations of people wherever you like, whether it's when I was a kid and I grew up with TMNT. Like it was technically before me, but like I watched them anyways, and I was still love them. So even the generation before me, I feel like that's something that's
Mom loves them.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she told me.
That's really funny.
She was like, I loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm like, what?
Did she love April or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No, she loved Teenage. She said she loved the Turtles. Like she remembers being 19, like going watching it.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah, that is fun.
And that's great.
Yeah.
And so I like that that's something like that they were able to continue that trend of these teenagers, and obviously it's a exaggerated version of it because they're mutants and that's why they can't fit in. But every teenager or almost every teenager deals with that problem of wanting to fit in with the peers around them and having that issue, and you get that with April in a more humanistic version, but you also get the teenage version of them wanting to see it, and I thought that was really well communicated. I also thought that we got a really cool version of them being like the cell phone version, like where they're like videotaping them doing cool stuff and it ends up doing bad. They're still like ninjas, even though they're not really ninjas. You still got those like cool scenes. Specifically, like you have them like grocery shopping, and that's how that's how you get their ninja stuff, which is a new version of that. Like back in the older movies, you would have them like legitimately fighting crime. Like Splinter told them to go fight crime, which is some of the lore stuff that I was not in love with. But you would have them like defending the weak, and that's how you like showed them being ninjas. But in this, it was just like them just surviving, and like they're living in the sewers and they have to get food somehow, and they're not paying pizza people through a sewer. They're going out and shopping and whatnot. But yeah, I loved almost all of it. The animation was definitely unique. And I think it worked for the most part. I think it was jarring at times. You definitely find yourself looking and being
like the news lady on the TV with like half her cheek way out here.
Yeah.
They're very asymmetrical, all the character designs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And from what we saw before the movie, they were trying to make the animation.
It was intentional.
Yeah, it was intentional to be they had teenagers do sketches of people and different things, and they tried to match their animation to make it feel even more teenage. But it didn't take you out of it, but it definitely made you feel awkward.
It made you notice and go like, why is that woman's like head like all neck?
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of people saying that it makes you feel like all of the humans are mutants too.
I think didn't I say like the humans look grotesque?
Yeah. So I definitely see that complaint, but I also see their intent. So like I can see past it and not really have that much of an issue with it, but it's very interesting. The only thing I do wish is there was a little bit more legitimate action to the film.
Yeah.
There's really only two pieces of of them like being legit ninja, like action ninja stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like they kind of went a different route with their origin. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but a cool thing about these characters were how unique they were fighting style wise.
Mm-hmm.
And getting to see that on film was always cool growing up, and like that didn't quite happen yet. I feel like it may, of course, we may get to see it more later on, but this movie is not necessarily heavy on the individualistic fighting and seeing their own individual fighting styles and stuff, which is always something I've always been a really big fan of.
Very
like,
groupy, as
yes.
I would describe it.
And specifically, I'm not like I love all of them almost equally, but I am. I was gonna ask you guys who your favorite turtles were, but mine has always been Raph. I feel like he does it. Like he's pretty. He's shown quite a bit during this movie, but like I always thought that Mikey was a lot of fun to watch film wise.
Mm-hmm.
Because of he's got nunchucks, and those are always fun to watch on film, and we didn't see a lot of his nunchuck stuff, so that's why I felt like I didn't see the individualistic fighting styles as much. So
Yeah.
I'd say if I had to pick a favorite turtle, it'd probably be Donnie.
I think
also
Donnie's
Donnie,
my favorite.
is that from this
I
movie
like
or in
Mikey a lot.
general?
I have a
but-
specific iteration of Donnie which I like the most, and it's from Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you've ever seen that one where they had the 2 seasons of the show, and then they had the Netflix animated movie.
Okay.
Where he's they play him as like, he's like the techie one is usually like the role he fills.
No,
like.
yeah, he's always been the techie
nerd,
one.
and they keep him as like I like how they characterize him that where he's like he's conscious of him being kind of like emotionally aloof and like detached because he's just more of like the techie guy. So like he kind of like jokes around and plays with that, but also like when it gets to the emotional moments, he can still be emotional there.
Gotcha.
But also just Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is my favorite iteration of it, which granted that like wasn't one I grew up with because that was like I think like 2015. Like I was
pretty recent.
Like I was in around college when I first like experienced that, and I was like, I feel like I'm outside the age demographic for this, but I don't care because funny turtles have sticks and beat up mutants, and this is fun.
There you go. Yeah, I think I like Donnie. I really only see from this movie.
This movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really liked Mikey too. I would say Donnie and the Mikey's close second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been a Raph fan. And in any iteration of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's always been Raph. For me.
Why does his bandana go over the top of his head and nobody else's does?
He's for multiple iterations, he's been both. Like he's a lot of iterations they have everybody being the same. But they've also had him have the over bandana.
Just a do-rag that goes a little too far down in his eyes.
Yeah. And I think it's always supposed to be because he's supposed to be the brute.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the
I mean, you can tell.
the muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's just supposed to be a tough guy look.
Tough guy.
I can see that. And I feel like the make or break for a lot of iterations of any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is how they decide to characterize Leonardo. Because they just say, like, he's the leader, and that's his whole personality. That's just... You're a wet blanket with dual-wielding katanas if you do it wrong. Where just like... I liked the version of him in, again, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because they had I think it was Ben Schwartz voice him,
Interesting.
and who is for those of you who aren't voice acting nerds like me, he's the same guy who did Sonic, his voice in the 2 movies, and they just said, yeah, just do that exact same character of like it's the cocky lead. because that's all the characters Ben Schwartz ever plays, but he plays it very well, so I'm never going to complain. But then there's the other iterations, like I'm thinking of the CGI movie from, I think it was like the late 2000s, like 2007 or 2008. Oh, actually, flip the mic there.
It's all good.
Where that was just like the stoic warrior type who's like, you know, exactly what you would expect the guy with two swords to be, where he goes and trains the jungle. And like, yeah, I know who this person is. I've seen his whole character arc before I've seen the movie, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I like it when they can play with Leonardo, and since like I feel like they gave him some more personality.
They did here.
Definitely, because he's, you know, since they leaned into the teenage aspect more.
Yeah.
And they made him like, you know, have more of that like the longing to join the human world, and also the crush on April. So he's not just the wet blanket, he's a wet blanket, but
With feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was supposed to tie in also to him wanting to be a leader and do the right thing, but also he is a teenager and he's going to like, he does have feelings, and like if all of his brothers are wanting to do this one thing and they all do the thing, like he's going to semi-join it. And I think they did Leo justice in this. I do think that he was the focus.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, this is the first film in this iteration of TMNT. So I think solidifying your captain isn't a bad thing. But it did seem like he was the focus of them.
I felt like the other three turtles just kind of felt like, here's three parts of the same character, where we're just like, here's Leo and then here's the other three, and then they just brought them out for like individual bits sometimes, like especially when they're meeting all the other mutants and they're like interacting with the ones that's like their mirror in some form or another. So I did like when they gave the more individual time to the non-Leo brothers. Yeah. But Leo definitely did get the spotlight more than anyone else, and it's such a so many character heavy movie. I'm glad they could at least keep the focus on at least somebody to an extent.
True.
Yeah. I think it was just Leo's always been the center, and so I think they wanted to kind of keep it.
He's the focus of it. Raph is the muscle. Donnie's the brain. Mike is the heart. Yeah. That's all their functions. Congrats. That's every iteration of Ninja Turtles ever. I've solved the formula.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of stuff about this, and apparently the origin of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in general was supposed to just be a kind of a riff on comics in general.
I thought it was specifically a Daredevil riff.
That was a piece of it. They were taking pieces from all of them. They were taking all of the major stereotypes across all of these different comics and just putting it into one. So a lot of comic books always took with the teenage age. And so they were like, okay, we're going to do teenage. And then mutant, they were taking off of the X-Men. A bunch of the X-Men's, they just took mutants. Ninja, I mean, how many Ninja was supposed to be the Daredevil thing, but also how many other comic books are Ninja-esque
it's just
characters.
A fun buzzword, honestly.
Yeah. And then Turtles, I think, was supposed to be off of I can't remember. Was
Animal Planet?
No. There was a comic book that was popular that was an animal, and they just kind of turned it. And then, they did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So they just mixed them all together. And then they took the four major tropes. You had the leader, you had the angry brute, and then you had the techie guy, and then you had the goofy Dumbo, which is Mikey. And then they, I guess, named him after the Renaissance characters. And that's what they made it off of, and it blew up, and then they continued writing him.
Well, one thing that I love about the Ninja Turtles is, like, if you can get over the ridiculousness of the opening concept, they can throw literally anything at you, and you'll just accept it. You won't ask any questions. Like, you're just faced with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which it gets more insane with every word. And once you get past that, you can be be like, okay, so who are the people they fight? It's like, oh well, there's like a ninja clan with like a dude who wears like very like spiky, almost Terminator-esque armor, who's like their main villain. He's like pretty much unkillable. It's like, oh okay. And it's like, yeah, and there's also like a pig guy and a rhino guy and a fly guy and all these other guys who also fight them. They're like, oh, is there anybody else? Like, oh well, there's aliens sometimes, but there's weird ones that are like they look like
a brain.
They look like chewed up bubble gum, and they like are inside of people suits. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Gosh, I wish I remembered the entirety of this bit, but it was just like how they came up with it, because the Foot Clan was also a.
I think that was a Daredevil thing too, because it's the hand in Daredevil.
Yes,
I think.
Yes, yeah. So it was the exact opposite. So they it was the hand, and so they used the foot. And then Shredder, it was supposed to be, there was a exact opposite of Shredder that was in the same vein.
Like Sower.
Bender, yeah.
Bender. No, that's Futurama. I don't think that was quite on the...
And then I know, I think the mentor for Daredevil, and this is me just going off of just seeing the show knowledge, is Stick. So I think it's like, what does it mean to make Stick smaller, like a rat? It's a splinter.
There you go.
I also, there was also something with, so that might also be correct.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Like all of it was supposed to be like a play off of just the stupid tropes from other comics.
They took the canon events from whatever Marvel property they want. Like, yeah, we'll just throw them together in like a big weird turtle gumbo.
Hey, it worked.
And it worked.
It made a however
Turtle
many
combo.
decade-long franchise it's been at this point. It's
Beloved,
so wonderfully weird. I adore it so. Oh, and there's also Triceratops aliens. I found that one out. Like I think they're called like the Triceratons. I've had a friend lore dump a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle lore on me, but it was at a con where I was paying attention to other things.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
Well,
yeah. Triceratops, yeah, cool. There's a fly guy, yeah, awesome. Oh, look at these cool pictures.
Was this the TV shows or the comics?
I think they were going off of the comics.
Okay, because the TV shows go just as wild.
Yeah,
because I've watched a lot of the TV shows and they go buck wild pretty quick.
It's I feel like that's the wonderfulness of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where you can just go whatever direction you want with it, and no matter what, so long as you just go full send on the insanity of it, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So like with this, like they go like they go full send into the adolescence, the isolation you feel as a teenager, but also like as a mutant, which these characters are, and struggling to find your identity. And they also just throwing lots of mutants and big fight scenes and stuff like that. And they commit to the fact that they're teenagers and mutants and ninjas and turtles, so they run with that. And the other iterations will pick up other aspects of it and still run with it. Whether it's like say Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles do focus more on, I feel like, the fights and the movements. So like they have these huge set pieces, and then the other versions that I'm not familiar with, I know they probably focus on more things, but I feel like I should have a third version of the Turtles to talk about this example, but I only know those two well enough to like apply my opinion to it.
Sure.
But since you know more about Turtles than me and you're not correcting me immediately, I think like, yeah, this is a good point. We'll stop it here for me.
Oh man.
No, it's all good. Okay. I feel like we should probably get into spoilers of this movie specifically. So, we will do a recommendation. That's just, do you recommend people go and watch this movie in theaters? Do you recommend that you wait until it goes out to DVD and streaming services, or do you just say pass on it in general, don't watch it? So, do you recommend this movie?
I would say if you're a fan of the Ninja Turtles, definitely watch it. And if you like, more like the experimental animation scene, because like as we said, like it's definitely different art style and animation style, a lot of these things like that. I'd say go see it if you're more into obviously the Ninja Turtles and the more obtuse styles of animation. But otherwise, I'd say I feel like there's no harm in waiting for streaming services. So I would say like see it, but it doesn't need to be in theaters. It's not like we got to go all the way to Dallas to watch TMNT in 75 millimeter film.
Well, to be
Need
fair,
see
like I
it.
said, only 2 films over the last 5 years have been in 75 millimeter.
You mean
but
3 now, because TMNT is that great. We're upping it to 76 millimeter film, which is better than 75.
well, it's 70. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
because
fair.
it's a bigger number, and that's how it works.
Bigger is better in Texas.
So yes, I would say
It was in Texas, so yeah, bigger is better. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I would say, fan of animation, do it. Otherwise, you can wait until streaming, and I won't yell at you.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, it's a really fun. I could see like families watching this, like family movie night. Watch TMNT.
I think that's where I'm at. Like if you've got a family, I think this is a great family night. Go out to like have a good time with anyone, like parents with kids under the age of really any age.
Yeah.
Like a 6-year-old could have fun with this. So like if you've got kids at any age and you have the ability to go watch this in theaters, I think it would be a fun night with the kiddos.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I do recommend it for that. But I also do think that like you could wait for this to come out in streaming or buy, like I'm buying this on Steelbook. I like it that much. I'm gonna buy it on Steelbook. So like you could also wait for it to come out and watch it rental or streaming service wise, and you would still get the same impact. But I think it's something you should watch no matter what. Because I do think it's that good. We've had a lot of really good movies recently, and this just somehow tacked on. I didn't know what to think.
We've had some solid animation heavy hitters over like the past year.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Like,
We've had solid movies in general, and somehow the animation movies have tacked on when it comes to like Puss in Boots, which we said, Across the Spider-Verse, and
it's the Spider-Verse effect.
It's the Spider-Verse effect.
People figured out they can get weird with it. Now we're finally starting to see the fruits of that labor, where they said like, okay, let's just get more experimental and strange with it and see where it leads. And you get some really like nice experimental movies like Ninja Turtles, Puss in Boots,
the bad guys.
I love the bad guys.
Yeah, the bad guys is also very fun, and then you have still Illumination doing actually nothing.
I think it's just people realizing that you don't have to do what Pixar's doing. I think for a long time people thought that animation for movies was what Pixar was doing. It was a 3D Illumination. They were all doing that same thing. It was a very like it's not standard. It was good. I liked it.
Has skinny limbs.
Like skinny limbs for all their characters.
Yes.
They do.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the point is that they all felt like they had to do these 3D animation things that all felt kind of similar, and they're smooth characters.
Like butter, like a criminal
And
undercover.
Okay.
That was funny.
Like they need to do. I feel like Pixar started out as like. You can kind of see them as like a tech showcase at first, where it's like, this is what animated movies can be, and then they push the envelope on that. And then as they keep going like further and further and further, and other companies start to catch up, and they start to get more weird and experimental, and even like becoming the antithesis of Disney and Pixar. Like, that's what DreamWorks was created out of. Their first movie was Ants, I believe, which was just Jeffrey Katzenberg stealing the script for A Bug's Life and trying to pump out a movie as quickly as possible. And then they made Shrek, which is like, this is the anti-Disney movie, and it made their studio. And since then, Disney's just been as cookie-cutter, clean as possible, not just trying to make more big and bombastic movies. But now we're like, we want movies that are weirder now. Give us weird. And Disney's like, but we gave you normal.
Yeah.
You liked normal. Remember Toy Story? We can give you another Toy Story. Like, no. Just give me something weird. Give me something obtuse.
Yeah.
It's I crave the strange.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. No, that's very fair. Okay, so we all recommend it. in various ways, but we all do recommend it. So now we're going to take a short little break, and then we'll be right back for the spoiler part of the review. Okay, and we're back after that short little break. And we're going to do spoilers. So we're going to talk about the actual things that happened during the film, and we're going to discuss them. So if you have not seen it and you care at all about spoilers, now's the time to pause it. We told you to watch it in some capacity, and you can come back and listen to the episode after you've watched it, or just keep listening if you don't care about spoilers. So I don't know how long this is going to go because we talked about quite a bit beforehand.
Yeah.
But if there's anything you guys want to talk about spoiler-wise, so about the story, what you liked or disliked about the actual story, we can talk about that now.
You mentioned you could say the thing. Say the thing about the ninja stuff.
Thing about like them being ninjas.
Yeah. How they just know it.
Oh, yes,
Right?
yes. After
Okay, so to preface this,
yeah, I'm a big
Preface.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, and I said that I didn't like all of
Okay,
the
but
lore.
but I agreed. Like I felt the same way that
Yes.
you did, even though I don't
Don't know the lore. Yeah,
Yes.
I said I wasn't a big fan of the lore of how these teenagers, really just how Splinter somehow knows, is a sensei and is able to teach them how to be ninjas at that level.
Mm-hmm.
In the original lore that I know, Splinter was taught the karate, jujitsu, taught to be a ninja before he was a mutant, and that's why he was able to. At least that's the old the live action version of it.
Okay.
He was a rat of a sensei in Japan, and that's why he learned that beforehand. And I liked that rendition. And in this, he just realizes.
Bought some videos.
Yeah, he bought some videos and said that his teenagers needed to learn how to defend themselves. So they just
Against
watched
the evil people.
workout videos, and somehow they could defeat big bads. And so I don't like the lore as much.
I don't like that plot point either.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like and I think in most teenage lores things, Splinter was some sort of legitimate sensei in some sense, and they didn't really make that a point in this one.
I don't know if this is just like fan theories or like if I made Ninja Turtles, this is how I would do it or whatever with my Ninja Turtles lore, but I've heard before ideas of like Splinter being a reincarnated samurai who had 4 sons, and he's like, he died, came back as the rat, and then like he thinks like the turtles are his reincarnated sons. So like that's why he already knows all the stuff, and that's why he trains them, because that's just like in his ways, and like has like some ties to Shredder or something because it's like related to the clan that like he fought when he was a samurai. I don't know if that's legitimate lore anywhere, if that's just insert dude on TikTok here who's just making stuff up. But if like, they do a sequel, which they tease the sequel, we can spoiler this. They tease the sequel. If Shredder comes in at the end and says like, "Oh, do you really think you learned samurai stuff from just watching exercise videos? No, you're reincarnated ninjas." I would be fine with that retcon. Just so they brush over like, in the first one, like, yeah, they just know karate, whatever, just go. But in this one, Shredder actually shows them, like, "Hi, what's up? Here's how I have ties to your backstory," instead of just being a hired goon, like the 30-second post-credit scene alluded to me being. So I would be fine with that rewrite. So I'm not going to judge too harshly, because that rewrite could exist. It probably won't.
Yeah.
But I can pretend.
Yeah.
And we all love to pretend.
Yeah. I think this movie just tries to be less serious with how they do it, but in the original, and I'm talking about the live action ones where they're like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, 2, and 3, with like they have live action people in suits and stuff.
In suits.
Yeah, in that rendition, Splinter was a rat, like he was a pet rat in a sensei's dojo in Japan. and Splinter kills the sensei, and
Wait, Splinter kills the sensei?
He kills the
sorry,
sensei?
Shredder.
Shredder?
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like,
They
why?
do have phonetically similar sounding names.
I know,
So
yes.
I was like,
Yeah.
hold up.
I'm glad you caught that.
Got a
Shredder
certified
kills.
tongue-tied moment.
Okay.
Shredder kills
Makes more
the
sense.
sensei because he's good, and he's trying to create the Foot Clan or whatever. And then the Foot Clan goes from Japan to the U.S. and Splinter and the Four Turtles somehow get mutated from the goo in New York, and they've been there for a while. And for whatever reason, Shredder comes to New York and starts the Foot Clan in New York and whatever. And they've already been there for like 15 years.
New York is just like, it has some sort of unspoken property where just a plot magnet where
Yeah.
if anywhere you live, like something is going to happen in New York, whether it's like, oh, this is where Shredder's going to show up, or this is where the alien invasion is going to happen, or the meteor is going to land.
This is where the good guys and the bad guys just origin start, and that's just, that's where they end up.
It's
Yeah,
got-
and
that-
in Secret Life of Pets.
anyways,
Because I was about to say, even when you talk about like Spider-Man, that's New York. If you talk about like Avengers,
that's why rent is so high there. It's just because you have to. It's equal parts. Like you're paying for.
I feel like your rent should be less, because if anybody takes over, they're gonna attack your city and you're probably gonna die. So.
Or they could say like, no, it's safe because all the heroes who live here, like Spider-Man and the Turtles and the Ghostbusters, and you could see one. So you need to pay me
That's
$3,000 for a glorified.
Well,
brewing
I can
closet.
tell you all those things aren't real, but nukes are. So I feel like that should be less rent.
Ghostbusters are at least a little bit real.
You heard it here first, folks.
That's one of my favorite supernatural series of all time, Ghostbusters. Because what do we do as soon as we find out the supernatural exists? We capitalism on it.
Yeah, yeah.
The Great American Supernatural series.
Give out your business card and say
Yep.
you can.
Who you gonna
Conti-
call?
Yep, that's a good point.
Not the Ninja Turtles, obviously.
Not the Ninja Turtles. They don't have those little vacuum
Yeah.
things.
Oh, and I mentioned that the Ninja Turtles, like, it had a very stuttery
Oh yeah.
Third act
like,
or third/fourth act. Yeah.
third act, because I said like the third act starts like right when Splinter frees the boys from like the facility. They get captured for a little bit, and like that's
Oh, where they're getting milked. Yeah.
yeah, where they're getting
That was so funny talking about the milking.
it's like they just keep going back to milk. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why do you keep committing to the milk joke?
I'm just
I
glad
liked
I'm
it.
glad it did have a payoff though.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if it never had an actual payoff, like it still would have been funny, but it wouldn't have been as good as like they actually did get milked through the
was-
shell.
It's better that they got captured rather than just like say go through the facility and see the milk machine like, oh, thank goodness we
Yeah.
didn't get milked.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mostly funny hearing Jackie Chan say milking.
My knee jerk reaction was like to imitate Jackie Chan. I thought like, no, I'm not going to do that on mic recording. We're not going to do
Yeah.
that. But anyways, the third act, it starts with like they just show up there and it's like, hey, what's up? We're ambushing you, and the turtle's like, but have you considered power of friendship? And they're like, oh, we didn't consider that. And then they all just rush Superfly and think, oh, that's it. Like, oh no, he's a whale monster now. And then they fight that and they think like, all right, let's fight the whale monster. Oh no, we fail. And like, oh no, we're going back again. Oh no, we fail again. No, but the humans are on our side now, and we succeed this time. And then, we're in high school now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
think it was
true.
just supposed to be the fact that, like, the whole movie has been about acceptance and then being accepted, and so I understood why they did it, but it did feel jarring story wise, just with how fast the mutants were did switch sides. Even though I do think that they kind of prefaced it well enough where they weren't you did feel like they weren't 100% on board with Superfly's plan.
Yeah, because during that whole car chase scene they had right after they first met Superfly, and he explains like, "Hi, what's up, in Superfly? I'm a big bad," and they go, "Cool," and then the car chase thing where they're trying to escape with the MacGuffin he needs to complete the mutant ray or whatever he's making. none of the mutants really like attack them.
Yeah.
They just keep like getting up right next to the car and going like, oh, you shouldn't do this. We're gonna get you. You're gonna get got. We're gonna do it. And I'm like, well, then just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop being Paul Rudd. just attack a teenager if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, I liked him too. But I do see that problem though.
Yeah.
And the point is though, is I do feel like it was at least semi, like it did kind of feel like it was on track with their character. Like it didn't feel like a complete character switch.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't see them all decide not to like attack them, and you were like, well, that's like none of them were anywhere close to that, and now they're just doing it from like 2 words.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did feel like they were on the border, and they were just doing it because they felt like they were like being told to, and they were like, this is the only option. And the Turtles brought a different option. And so like it did kind of feel like it was, yeah.
And I felt like I could predict that the big monster was coming as soon as like everybody turns on Superfly, and Superfly is not just immediately one-shotting all of them. And I thought, this is not going to be a good payoff.
Yeah.
And if D&D has taught me anything, the action economy is in an imbalance, and the only way you fix that is with big bad undefeatable monster guy. And lo and behold, big bad undefeatable monster guy appears
with horse feet.
Yeah, with horse feet in Act 3.5,
which didn't really make any sense, but we don't have to get into that.
I think it makes sense in the fact that like if a mutant can fuse with another mutant by just like, here's 2 animals combined, they just said like, what if we turn that up to 11 and just say,
yeah, but there's
all the
no
animals fuse now. It's
just there's no horses in the water.
Yeah, but he jumped into the zoo, and that's how he got the horses.
I thought he just was in the water.
No, because he gets in the water. He gets in the water as he's like, the machine falls on him, and he combines with the whale or something, and like starts like crawling onto land. Like, this couldn't get any worse because the movie's made of Marvel quips. And then it shows him like jumping into the Brooklyn Zoo, and they just go, oh, okay. It gets worse. And then he just goes like, hey, what's up? I'm Ice Cube. I got horse feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Horse feet. These are not like horse hooves feet, ladies and gentlemen. These are feet made of multiple horses.
That was funny when they threw the one thing and the one horse jumped off and scurried away.
It did have a very like obvious and dumb like weak point.
It had a very MacGuffin weak point.
Yes.
A blowhole.
Which was, I did kind of like how that was tied back to Donnie being an Attack on Titan fan, because I never watched that, but I know the bare minimum, which is like, I guess the weak spots are on the back of the neck.
Yes.
Which I would really like that if they just delivered that joke differently, where if instead of just saying like, oh, they don't have a joke, they don't have a weak spot on the back of their neck. Oh wait, no, this one actually does have a weak spot on the back of the neck, because the bloat hole. I think it would be very funnier if they did the show don't tell, where like say they bring up Attack on Titan, and he goes like, well, it's not like Attack on Titan where they have a weak spot on the back of their neck, and then like you see like the news reports just like say in the background like the big like Times Square billboards, and it just zooming in on the blowhole, and like everybody but Donnie's picking up on that, and he goes, wait, the blowhole. And I think that would have been like funnier delivery.
No, I see what you mean.
But this is me as a viewer and not a dude who made the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's kind of like redoing things after the fact is a lot easier than doing it while you have nothing and you're just creating the movie from nothing.
And I think there's a lot of, they do a lot of tell, don't show in it, where like they do show like the human hate, but I feel like I felt like they did more just like, no, the humans hate us, more than they just like showed the humans hate us.
I mean, they showed it. You had two different scenes.
Not as much.
Yeah.
They did. I just felt like it could have been, I'm always a fan of like just do less dialogue and just more just show, but I feel like just because with how actor heavy it was, and they were just doing naturally more dialogue as is, that's why it was more tell.
Sure.
Because they were telling like, more character story than it was action story with a lot of this. So I guess that's just the nature of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got opinions. Sometimes intelligent. Yeah, I got them.
Yeah.
Bunch of dances over here.
I don't know what else.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't know what else. I do really think that I like the April stuff. I didn't know if I was.
You like the vomit?
Okay, that was excessive.
It
It
was
was
a lot.
very excessive, but I do think that it was a
wasn't
good
horrible,
bit.
but
No, I think it was a good bit. I liked the just awkwardness of the character and especially when she first meets the turtles. Just how that goes of how she's like, no one else is gonna accept you, but like I will because I am not accepted by anybody else. So like I have no other choice. Like you're the only people I know.
I have a crackpot theory for. They're obviously
Crackpot theory.
Yeah. So they're probably gonna do a sequel. I'm already calling this, and it'll be they'll be fighting Splinter, not Splinter. Dang, I did it too. Shredder.
I know.
And I think for that one, they're also going to introduce what's his name, Casey Jones.
Yeah, I assume Casey's gonna come back.
Here's the way I'm going to call they're going to introduce him. He's going to be a fellow student at the high school that they're at, who's going to be an absolute fangirl over the Turtles, to where he creates his own superhero persona with the sports equipment he finds there, accidentally stumbles into Shredder and the boys. And
Splinter and the boys or Shredder?
Shredder and the boys. So like the bad guy side
Okay.
completely misunderstands the dynamic here, and then like becomes like for a while like a sidekick antagonist to Shredder for a portion of the movie. That's going to be. I'm already telling you now, Seth. This is the plot point you're allowed to use for
how nice.
Casey. I'm going to allow this. I'll get my people in contact with your people so you can pay me for these ideas.
First, he has to pay you for them.
Yeah, first
I thought you were just gonna say they have to use you as a voice actor for Casey.
I'm not sure I could do a teenager that well because I don't think. I think if you want to do like a Casey, like the way I'm imagining like Casey Jones as a high school student, they need to be somebody who definitely does not sound like Batman, trying to sound like Batman when he puts the hockey mask on.
There you go.
And I can do too well of a Batman, so that means I can't do it. But yeah, my people get in contact with your people, Seth, as soon as I get people. So we'll put a pin in that.
Perfect. Yeah. You leave too much dead space for my liking.
Leave
I feel
just
like
the
I have
right
to.
amount.
No.
We'll fix it in post. It's all fine.
We don't do no posting.
He
here.
doesn't
Oh
do
my
anything.
goodness.
Yeah.
There's no post.
No post.
No post.
Nope.
We're coming to
Just
you unfiltered
publish.
like tap water.
That's right.
Yep.
No, my tap water's filtered.
Oh, actually, I think I did see.
No,
No,
we
there's a
do.
sink.
We do Flint, Michigan tap water up in here. It's
Oh, I love
completely
it.
unfiltered.
It's we have at my hometown. We got a warning on like the water that says like pregnant women are not allowed to drink this.
What the heck?
Too much nitrates.
Yeah, that definitely means everybody else should drink it. If the
I
pregnant women
I
can't,
think yeah.
that
Come
means-
to my hometown, Seth. We'll have a nice glass of tap water and we'll talk about Casey. Yeah. And yeah.
Negotiate.
Yeah, and
pay.
how I will now voice act just whatever next New Mutant you make, the next animal pun you think of that you're just going to put in, because that's how they make villains in TMNT, is they just say, yeah, this is an animal pun.
Yep.
Or it's Genghis Frog, or in Rise of the...
They're just doing shit. They're just making shit up.
Yeah, or Hypnopotamus is one
Perfect.
from...
I kind of like that.
Yeah, from Rise of the Ninja Turtles. Or one that is, again, from Rise of the TMNT, one who's just a gopher, who's just a very like overly pleasant man. He's not a villain. He's just there. And he's voiced by the same guy who did the voice and created Flapjack from Cartoon Network. That's just how he sounds.
How nice.
He's a man named Thurup.
That's gross.
I'm not saying syrup with a lisp. I'm saying this man's name, and it's an interesting name.
Huh.
He's such a
Weird.
unique voice. Oh, I love weird voices. But that's all the opinions I can think of before
this movie?
Yeah, before getting more tangential. I got only tangents in my
Perfect.
mind. My head is a calc class at this point.
It's okay. It is late, so that makes sense. Okay, no, that can be about it. Yeah, no, that can definitely be.
Yeah.
the end of the episode. Although we did not mention the fact that they mentioned the 3 Chris's in this movie. And I think that was a good
They
bit.
did do that.
Pine, Pratt,
Evans
and
Pratt.
Evans.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
they were just there. It was like a lot of things in movies. Like they were there and like that's a joke. It hits the beats.
Trevor didn't like it, but it was a joke.
Somebody.
Trent
Trent.
didn't like it.
Trevor
but it was-
probably didn't like it either.
Well,
We'll
he hasn't
see.
watched it yet,
We'll
but
see.
he probably won't when it hits.
Yeah, he'll look at it and go like, "This is on paper a joke." An execution. It's 3 cardboard cutouts of men named Chris. It's funny to somebody. That's the joke they put in the kids' movie for somebody's mom.
I'm somebody's mom.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, yeah, we'll go ahead and do our final thoughts and ratings.
Mm-hmm.
So, out of 5 stars,
Yeah, 5.
out of 5 stars, you can do half stars.
You can do quarter stars if you want. I
We
do
can
that.
do
Okay,
that.
stop with the
Any-
absolute
any-
insanity right
any
now.
percentages. All right.
We have never done quarter stars.
I do quarter stars
I'm
all
gonna
the time.
I'm gonna get irrational with this.
Okay.
You don't even know.
Great. No, and any other final thoughts you have, you can say with your rating. So, yeah, what's Trent? What's your rating for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem?
Because I'd like to be difficult and get irrational with it. I'd rate this pie out of 5, where it's better than a than
3.14734
yeah
819.
3.14159. Get it right, champ. Come on, you got to memorize it to the digits. That's how you.
I can do math. I can't memorize it.
I can memorize it though. I know that.
I can look up so many equations. Just but that's what I'll rate it out of 5. It is a fun movie. Don't go into it being overly critical. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's not Shakespeare. Just watch it and enjoy it. It's for teenagers and it's fun.
Yeah. I say 4.
Okay. Well, I guess call me a teenager because this is 4.5. I fucking loved it.
Ooh.
I thought it hit all of the notes. The only thing I disliked about it was the specific lore stuff, but I was willing to overlook it because I thought it was perfect when it came to the teenager aspect of it. I thought the action was really well done. The fact that they went animation style, not even though I like the TMNT movie that came out in like 2007, that was like 3D animation that looked like a PS3 game. Even though I like that movie, this was a different style and I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
They didn't take the low-hanging fruit of doing Shredder on the first movie. They did something different, which I thought was really good because I didn't know exactly where they were going. And yeah, I thoroughly had a great time. The emotional beats were there towards the end, even though it was a little campy in the third act with the whole New York coming to their aid and such. That was a little campy, but I thought it was campy in a good way. So
It's very Amazing Spider-Man.
yes, yeah, where they all line up.
I
No,
like Amazing
I-
Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. The first one.
Yes, no, I think
The second movie was
the whole
there.
world agrees the first one's okay to good, and the second one is a movie.
It had a good scene,
Yeah,
and then there were other scenes in the film. Anyways,
which we don't discuss.
Turtles.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I had a great time throughout. Maybe it'll go down a half star, but I don't see it going anything below 4. As of right now, it's 4.5 because I just absolutely loved my time there. So, yeah, we have Pi 4 and 4.5.
Everybody loves
Sweet.
pie. Everybody loves pie.
Everybody loves Pi,
Everybody.
although it's a low rating. So
It's a 6+ change. It's like a 6 and a.
no, it's definitely not
Six-
a low.
6.3.
It's not a low rating.
Ish.
On my rating scale, a 3 is a good movie. So it's still above a good movie. So.
It's just the way I see it is like this is not reinventing the wheel. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening. Like I said earlier in today's episode, we will not be doing an episode next week. So unfortunately, we'll not be doing Voyage of the Dementor.
The Dawn Shredder?
No, that's
Narnia.
That's Narnia. I think it's Voyage of the Dementor. I don't know.
Demeter?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the Dracula movie.
Yes. Yeah. That was what we were going to do. However, we're on vacation, so we cannot do an episode.
Are you going by boat on vacation?
Oh shit.
On the Demeter?
No, I'm kidding. We're flying, so we're all good.
Okay, cool. Still, just bring the cross with you if possible, and just a little bit of garlic.
Okay.
I bring garlic everywhere with me.
She does.
Yeah.
That is her spice.
To ward off vampires and attract the Italians.
Hey, no
Precisely.
Italians.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, but we are gonna come back for Blue Beetle. Unfortunately, it's a MCU movie, so I'm always that's DCU.
Yeah,
it's DCU, and they're kind of reboot. Not really.
You've been wrapping this up for a real long time.
Yep, that's what I do.
Midwestern goodbying his own podcast.
I do that a lot. So that's what we're doing in a week and a half, where Brandon's going to come on, our new co-host. So be looking forward to that on the 21st. And thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you, Trent, for coming on for the first time.
Thank you. I had a fun time, somewhat trash talking the Turtles and definitely trash talking all of Tristan's favorite movies, evidently.
That's real. It's fine.
It's pretty easy to do. So thank you guys so much.
She's going to beat me up later.
And have a good one.
Hey, moron!
You talking to me? You talking to me?
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hello?
What an idiot!
Well, what do you expect? I'm the movie moron.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Don't call me stupid.
Oh, right! To call you stupid would be an insult to stupid people! I've known sheep that could outwit you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense.
No, none taken.